Hey guys and girls, this is Arish from gainmedialab.com. Welcome to my exciting world of live audio mixing. In today's episode, we follow along with the full drum mix series and we talk about mixing toms. But before we get into all that, make sure that you have subscribed to this channel and turned on all notifications so that you don't miss any of the videos that I post every Monday. With all that said and done, let's jump into the mix. So we've done the overheads, we've done the kicks, we've done the snares. In the previous episode, we talked about hi-hat. And if you haven't watched any of those, then make sure that you watch all of them before we tackle this one, because it will sort of explain what we have done so far, and it will explain how we got to the sound that is shaped right now. So let's just have a quick reminder of how things sound right now and where we are at, and then we will just jump into mixing toms. Let's just have a quick run through the channels. So this is the hi-hat, this is the overhead left, overhead right, kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, and the hi-hat. Well, we have engaged the EQ, we've also engaged the compression, and we have a nice, healthy sounding pop drum. Thanks again, Dollars, who is the great drummer who you can hear on this track. He's a great friend of mine, a great drummer, and you should definitely check out his website or his band website that I will link in the video description down below. Okay, so when we talk about toms, there's a few things that I always listen for, and that is I want to remove the honkiness, and I want to shape the sound of the toms according to the genre. So this is like a pop sounding track, and I want them to sort of have a nice, rich, overtone filled sound, which is not hopefully not going to be hard, because I know that these drums were tuned properly, they had new heads installed, and we had a great drummer, so it should be fine. Let's just find a section where we have these toms present and we can work with them. This looks like a pretty one. Put it on repeat. And I'll mute everything else except for the overheads, just to see what we actually get from the overheads right now. And you can hear that from the overheads we get a lot of the upper end. We have a nice stereo image going right to left. So we want to add punch, we want to add the direct sound, and we want to add some more body to these toms. Okay, let's start with tom 1. And we'll adjust the gain on that one. Since toms are basically like only transients and not much else, I'm shooting for about minus 12 on the ppm meter on the input level, and that should translate nicely into the RMS level on the console. And right off the bat you can hear that, we have some rumble going on. Let me just mute the overheads. bit of rumble, and we can hear that it's basically ringing out longer than we want to. So we will have to apply some gating. Okay. Let's start with the low cut filter. Engage. Or maybe this view will be better. Yeah. And let's just try and figure out if there's a cutoff frequency that we want to sort of still retain, but remove everything below that. So this is right now at 25. Still no change. We are at 100 and still no change. Now, at 130 we start thinning out the tom. So let's roll back a bit. Without width. It just drops the kick side from the signal, but it doesn't really affect the signal as it is. Okay, the first EQ move that I always do on toms is going to be removing the low mid to mid section, and that is that honky nasal sound. And it's usually at around between 400 and 1K. And if I usually do quite a steep, I should say quite a hard cut at one of those frequencies with a pretty wide Q, and that takes out basically all of the middle and just leaves the bottom end and high end. Yeah, can you hear that? That boxiness? I can live without that, for sure. Adjusting the Q a bit. I can go wider than that. Just that one cut does wonders. Okay. What now? So I'm still hearing a bit of something in the 1K to 2K region, which I sort of want to get rid of. I don't care for that. Okay, and this is tom in isolation. What I want to check now is how it sounds with the overheads, because the overheads will give it brightness. Without the tom, without the EQ, yeah, it's sort of aggressive and honky and with. Okay. Since we have all that upper end and the overheads, I can actually do a high cut. And that's something that I often do on toms, because I just want to remove all of the high frequencies on all channels that I don't really need or care for, and create space for everything else down the line, like, I don't know, overheads or very sibilant reverb or vocals or whatever it is, but I want to free up the space for the high frequency drivers not to sort of translate that into the room. So let's try and find the frequency, but with the overheads engaged. Okay. That sounds nice. What I'm missing right now is a bit of low end, a bit of body, just a bit of width, a bit of weight on that tom. So let's try and figure out if we can add a bit. There it is. So this is sort of like a fundamental frequency at about 170. And I try to go below that just a bit so I can extend the fullness of the tom and give it a bit of heft, a bit of weight. Okay, let's check what we've done with the EQ. Without. With. Okay, that sounds nice. Let's compress this first tom. And I try compressing quite a bit because I want to sort of shape the transient. So, gain. Okay, I'll disengage the overheads so you can hear what I'm doing. Since I'm compressing that much, maybe that much. So I'm shooting for about -7, -8 dB of gain reduction. But that means that we need to be really specific with what we are doing. So, a bit slower tag at about 10. Since this is a really transient rich signal. Release time, slower. Maybe slower than that. Okay, this sort of sounds okay to me. Let's try and see if we can find the key filter for this compressor. And if that will do anything good for us. Key solo. So that we can hear the frequency. Remember when I said that the sort of fundamental frequency of this tom is at around 170 Hertz? So we're using that frequency to sort of key out the stuff for the compressor. Without the compressor. With. It just adds a bit of attack, a bit of punch to it. And right now we can all hear that this tom is ringing out quite a bit. So let's shorten it and sort of tame it. But we still want it to sound natural. And what I'm listening for here is sort of getting rid of the neighboring sounds, but still retaining that ringing tone from the tom as much as I can. And I think the best way to do that is going to be with a key filter. Let's listen to this. Yeah. So key filter. So it's only listening to that fundamental frequency. I can lower the threshold then. That means I can do a bit longer the release time. But this sort of transition between the gate opening and closing sounds a bit unnatural, even if you put it in context with the overheads. So what I can do is use the range and just not cut everything away, but just reduce all of the neighboring frequencies for, let's say, 19 or 20 dB, and that will remove that harsh transition but still clear up the sound. Maybe I can. Okay, let's engage back overheads. The rest of this. Okay, let's listen to the tom only. Okay, so this is sort of sounding okay. We had the EQ, the compression, and the gate. And yeah, I think it's at a place where we can put it in the mix and see what's going on. And let's just transition now to the rest of the toms, and then we'll see what's going on over there. And the trick to do that is basically, if you want to be moving really, really quickly, is to just copy the settings from tom number 1 to the rest of the toms, because they will be quite similar, and then you can just sort of adjust the details. So move the frequencies around a bit, move the thresholds around a bit, but you don't have to start from scratch for every other tom in the drum kit. So let's do that. Paste, yes. Copy, no, sorry. Copy and paste. Confirm. Okay, so let's run the rest of the tracks, and we'll focus then on tom number 2 and floor number 1. So I'm repeating the process that I've done with the first tom on the second tom, just listening to it, checking the settings, and see if we need some adjustments on that one. So this is going to be tom 2 soloed. And I'm just resetting everything, or just, I should say not resetting, but disengaging everything and then checking for some issues that might happen with these settings. Okay, low cut first, or should I say, let's check the input gain first. Input gain is a bit high. Okay, so we've adjusted that. Let's go and view the low cut frequency. Yeah, I'm just dropping that a bit. By a few hertz. Okay, and I'm engaging the EQ to see if the filters are working. The low mid probably needs a bit of adjustment. Maybe a bit wider. High mid. Yeah, it still has that harshness, so that works fine. The low. Low is going to be lowered a bit just because I want to get below the fundamental frequency of the tom. And the fundamental has now moved because it's a larger size of tom, and it has a lower fundamental frequency, right? It's lower in pitch. Okay, so EQ sounds okay. Let's check out the compression. Compression seems good. The threshold needs to be adjusted. That means that the input gain should probably be adjusted as well. But not that much. Okay, let's check out the gate. Key filter frequency, we said moved downwards, so okay. Let's compare the first tom and the second tom. Because we have copied the settings and not changed them that much, they seem to have sort of a consistent sound. So the length is there, the punch is the same, so that really works in our favor. Let's just unmute the overheads and see if that changes anything. I'm completely fine with that. Let's go to floor tom. Oh yeah, this one will need adjustment, right? Because it's too short, it's stifled. So let's disengage the gate, let's disengage compression, let's disengage the EQ and the low cut. Right, so let's check for the input gain first. It's a bit low, so we can... Right, so it's in the vicinity. Okay, low cut. Yeah, this low cut was set way too high for that floor tom. Right. Okay, 60 Hertz. Works for me. Let's engage the EQ. This one doesn't really work for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset these two. And on the first one I'm just going to go down. Let's find that honkiness that sort of should be our first move when reducing that. Yeah, that boxiness has to go. So I'm basically doing the same moves, but just at different frequencies, right? Right, that's cleaned up quite a bit. Let's try and see if we can get the fundamental frequency. Since we had to reduce the low cut quite a bit, that lower frequency will have to be lowered again quite a bit as well. There it is. Alright, I'm happy with the EQ compression. Okay. Key filter frequency has to be lowered. the input gain, because I've tried adjusting before I adjusted for the key filter frequency. Yeah, that sounds very similar to the other two. Now the gate will probably have to be adjusted quite a bit, so let's see. Yeah, it's really, really short. First of all, again, let's change the key filter frequency. We were at about 90. Yeah. So that one, release time and hold time have to get extended. Maybe we can get away with a bit of higher range or bigger range. Okay. Checking tom 1, tom 2 and floor tom together. Okay. I'm going to the compression on the floor tom, and I'm just going to adjust the output gain a bit, because I'm trying to level match these toms, and floor tom was lower in volume, even though I have all my faders set at about the same level and my input gains at the same level. Okay, I'm engaging the overheads again. Okay, let's bring in the rest of the kit. Get out of this loop. And start this track from the top. Sort of bring it down a level just a tad. Okay, that works for me. Level-wise, there are two sort of schools of thought. One is, since the toms are usually the accents of the drummers playing, they should be placed really loud in a mix so that they cut through and show you what the drummer is working on. The other sort of mentality behind placing the toms level-wise in the mix is bringing it cohesively with the rest of the kit, sort of just underneath the level of the snare. I sort of subscribe to the second one, but it also depends on the genre. It also depends on a particular piece of music, and I tend to write these toms quite a bit. Depending on what I want to achieve sonically. If there's a really important part that goes into where the drummer really leans into the toms, then of course they will get more prominent in the mix. All right, this probably concludes our channel per channel analysis of a drum kit. I hope you've enjoyed the series. And the next one, we will be adding some reverb to the entire kit and trying to see what we can achieve spatially and bringing the entire kit together with the use of reverbs. But if you've liked this so far, make sure that you have subscribed, make sure that you have shared and liked this video and the rest of the videos from the playlist. Check out the entire playlist. And while you're doing that, also visit gainmedialab.com for more audio deliciousness. Until next time, take care, mix great shows, and I'll see you again.